welcome to a very special episode of the Buy Real Estate Podcast. Joining with me is my producer Raj Kotecha, and we're here to discuss what's going on in the buy market currently, with a lot of people saying market's on fire. And thanks, Raj, for joining me today.
Well, thanks for carving the time out. I know we've broken our normal production schedule of the show because we've had such a crazy conversation about where the market is today. And, we may as well get straight into it because your videos start quick. So your podcast should probably start as quick. What's going on in the market? We're going into summer 2021, and by all intents and purposes, the market's on fire. Everybody in the city, from estate agents to just observers, have got an opinion. But maybe you can speak a little bit about what's the state of the union today.
So, to answer this question, Raj, the market, yes, it's very busy. Inquiries are quite high. Transactions are very high. Properties are getting sold very quickly. The prices what owners were asking, some properties are selling above ask prices. Now, a lot of people are saying this is again a bubble. It is not going to last. But there are different ways to look at it. Is it a bubble? No, it's not a bubble. Yes, the markets are on fire. Is it going to remain this way? Not necessary. It could cool down a bit. But is it going to go back to the 2019 levels? No. So, yes, there is a lot of demand heading into the summers, and everybody knows that Dubai summers is really, bad. But is that going to really make business stop? No. It might slow down a bit. The demand overall in the market is quite high, but you need to understand here that the demand is not for everything in the market. And this is what I've always told people, that Dubai is very different. Overall, if you see, the market is quite hot, a lot of transactions, but it's not across all types of properties. Villas and townhouses, everybody knows after, COVID, the whole pandemic situation, they've gone up in demand. Now, they've gone up in demand. The supply for these, they're not so many of them that, the prices would remain soft. The reason for the prices going up is because there's less supply of villas and townhouses and a lot more demand. If you compare apartments, on the other hand, apartments also, the prices are going up, but not for each and every category. If it's a good quality, good location, something which is not too much in numbers, those properties are holding value. They're really high in demand. But some properties still, if you see, are still more or less at the same prices which were there in 2019. So those have not gone up.
So let me just jump in there because it's the second time you mentioned 2019. For whoever's listening, 2019 would be considered a recent, quite a dramatic low. The market was quite suppressed in terms of prices. And so are you saying that we're not going to ever get back to such low prices? Or are you saying that this is a temporary correction? Because you can have an upward correction in prices as well as a downward one. Help me understand just right now in the last year what's happened. And I have to ask as well, COVID must have been a factor in this.
Look, to answer this question, first and foremost, you need to understand the markets prior to 2019 as well. The markets have been declining since almost quarter 3 of 2014. Right till quarter 4 2019, going into even quarter 1 of 2020. All these years, literally 5-6 years, the markets were going down. Now, you can't expect the market to just keep on going down and down. There has to be a bottom, and at at some levels, the prices will correct. So there was a correction which was happening since 6 years, and it was a downward correction. So there has to be an upward correction also sometime. Secondly, one thing which people really, really were surprised is the way Dubai handled the whole COVID situation. We were in a lockdown for probably 4-5 weeks or 6 weeks, and then slowly things started opening. And the good part is we didn't go back into a lockdown. Whereas the rest of the world, is even today, while we are recording, there's still some major cities in the world which are still under a lockdown. Now imagine someone who's got the means and resources, has the money, When he's in his own country, they see that there's a lockdown. When they come to Dubai, they see that everything's open. Yes, there are restrictions, there are measures in place, you know. So that's really made people believe in Dubai even more. And also, the government has been taking steps slowly since past 3 4 years in opening up a lot of things. Like recently they announced the long-term visas. You could have a 5 year, 10-year golden visa. They also announced they'll be granting citizenship. They also announced you don't need a local partner for most of the businesses over here now. So there are a lot of laws which have been changed, and the government has given a very clear message that Dubai means business. It's not just a place where people used to come for holidays and all. No, people are now looking at Dubai as a long-term place. Previously, a lot of people, I mean, I personally, when I used to have conversation with clients a few years back, and they used to be very negative, saying, "Oh, Dubai, you don't know what's going to happen, this, that." But after the whole COVID crisis, they've seen that Dubai handled it really amazing. They've got probably one of the best governments in the world. They acted quick, and a lot of things here, are going much better than the rest of the world.
Yeah, so you're talking about the overall handling of COVID and the relative few weeks or months that Dubai was in lockdown versus other quote unquote major cities or mature markets. Things like nationalization, longer term visas. Maybe you could also throw in there as well the fact that you can have like mixed gender couples, premarital, living together. There's as recently as maybe last week they were talking about a 90-day tourist visa that can be extended
Yes.
to 180 days. So you're saying that there's a whole bunch of economic and policy changes combined with the handling of COVID that's basically made the perception of Dubai for an investor turn on its head 180 degrees from I don't know, it's kind of unstable to it's stable. A lot of the laws that we were concerned about are no longer in force, and we can see ourselves living here long term. So that's good from an overseas investor point of view. What about a domestic long term resident? How has there been upgrading of properties? Have people been going from 1 bedroom apartments to 3 bedrooms or 3 bedroom apartments to small townhouses? Internally within the market, what's contributed towards the increase in
So
transactions?
there has been a lot of movement internally also. What has happened is a lot of residents who've been living here since years, with all these new rules, regulation, changes in the visa policies, and things like that, they've got more confident on Dubai. Now their people are seeing Dubai as a long-term place and not a short-term place. Previously, people used to think, oh, we'll be living here for a few years, then going back or moving somewhere else. Now people are looking at Dubai as a long-term place, and that has really changed the perspective of the people living here. Also, what the government recently did is the loan to value ratio, which was previously 75%, was raised to 80%. That means if someone wants to buy a property, he requires a 20%, he or she requires a 20% down payment, which again, amongst the residents, gave a boost. On top of it, the interest rates, which we are talking about today, are probably one of the lowest we've seen in the past few years. So all these factors put together, and on top of all this, the prices were also at probably the lowest we've seen in a few years. All these things put together added to the demand. People started buying, and then slowly, people realized that the offers what they were getting back in a couple of years back, or the prices or the payment plans from developers, they are no more available. Look, people, we were just about a year and a half back, we were talking about oversupply in the market, and now all of a sudden we're looking at undersupply. Again, I'll reiterate that this is not the entire market, but there are certain segments of the market. Now, if you talk about luxury properties, the high-end luxury segment, yes, there's an undersupply, because what happened is 2014-15, when the market started going down, most developers started making more of affordable homes. A lot of developers, they didn't really come up with very high-end luxury projects. There were a few, but not overall in the market. So whatever was being built in the last few years, majority of that was more into the affordable segment and the mid segment, I would say, not really the high-end luxury segment. And when the demand started, you know, because there was not too much built in the luxury segment, there were not too many properties in the market. Now, if you talk about communities, you look at Palm Jumeirah or Emirates Hills, these communities are established communities since past few years. It's not a new community which is coming up. Even on the other hand, if you see communities like Dubai Hills, the new communities, though they are new communities and people talk about so many houses, you need to look at the numbers, you know. So if you talk, just to give you an example of one townhouse community called Maple in Dubai Hills, now there are three phases in that Maple, 1, 2, and 3. All put together are roughly around 1600 or 1650 townhouses. It's not like 10,000 townhouses, you know.
So
Now,
what's the individual contribution of each category? Maybe this is where you were going, but like all types of property haven't contributed to the up spike in the market equally.
Yeah.
So just pick up from where you were, of course, but
so look, if you take the categories of townhouses and villas, because the number of them are not so high, the demand is really high in them. Because with COVID, what happened? People thought that it's better to have larger homes. Even people renting these homes, not just buying. Even as a tenant, a lot of people wanted to move from apartments to townhouses. So that gave a real big boost in villas and townhouses. Now, there's not much on offer, and especially what is ready for people to move in. So that gave a spike from this demand was locally and also internationally. Secondly, in terms of apartments, good quality, nice apartments, again, if you see, are not too many. So that is again something which really helped, some developments and some particular developments which could command a good price, hold value.
right. What are we looking at in terms of like long-term security? If you were to guess, and you rightly made the example that the whole industry changed in just 18 months, but if one of your clients was to ask you about an 18-month view starting summer 2021 all the way to the back end of 2022, what are your instincts telling you?
Look, Raj, summers, a lot of people say, oh, Dubai gets really bad in summers and all. Now, yes, it's the weather, but it's same with some other places. Like, it's not that people leave Dubai forever. Okay, they might travel, they're not here for a month, 2 months. The summer lasts for 2, 3 months, which is really bad. The rest of the time, it's great weather. It's like, telling that someone is going to leave Canada in the winters. No, there are places which have harsh winters as well, and people just escape probably for a month or two, not more than that. They return and they come back.
But would that affect house price? Like, do you see just like a steady growth, or do you think there could be momentary down moments of like a 2, 3, 4% drop in prices where an investor that really wanted to get good value for money could wait for that moment to come, try and time the market,
Right.
and get an even better like return on
Look,
investment?
it's very difficult to say as of now, because with COVID and the whole situation right now, what we're seeing is travel is also quite restricted. Travel has not opened yet. In summers, going into the summers, there could be a slight, you could say, not really a slowdown, but the momentum might, be soft for probably 1 or 2 months.
Or even flatten, like plateau?
Or might just flatten out for a couple of months. But we need to also consider that going into October, we're heading into Expo 2021, right? People till now have not really seen the benefits, or we're not talking much about the Expo. But once Expo starts, okay, we might not be expecting the same number of tourists or same number of visitors what we were expecting pre-COVID, but still we're still expecting a lot of people to come and visit Dubai. Once that happens, Dubai is going to be opening up to more people around the world. There are still a lot of people who haven't visited and seen. Once that happens, that's going to give another, in my opinion, it's going to give another boost to this place. Not only that, also recently the peace accord with Israel. That also is a very positive news. Still, we are not seeing so many people from Israel coming and buying properties here, but still, it's an avenue which is going to develop sooner or later.
Can you talk then about, and this is in the theme of just market changes. There's only really been a handful of points of gravity in terms of geographically in the city. There's Marina, and there's downtown, and maybe there's a couple of other kind of like busy metropolitan areas. Post Expo, do you see that the southern part of Dubai, the Creek part of Dubai, could join these two areas as like this third metropolitan area? Could it be a...
Look, Dubai is really growing, and some areas which are also down south, where the expo is happening, where, Dubai South and some communities there, they're also slowly getting populated. What is also happening is there's a lot of development happening that side. So definitely once the expo happens, people come, visit, see. We are expecting more people to come and live here. Not only that, recently the government also announced a virtual working visa. So basically, with COVID, a lot of people are working from home. They could make Dubai their home and work for wherever they want to work virtually. Uh, as you earlier said, they've announced a 5-year visit visa on which a person can come stay for 90 days and extend another 90 days, which is again a boost for tourists. So that's also something which is going to add. So all these factors, Raj, if we see, it's not overnight. These rules changes, they've been happening since the past few years. What we are seeing now is the effect of all these changes which the government has been making slowly in the past few years. The government has been changing these rules, regulations since quite some time. Slowly, step by step, they've been changing. And all these changes which they've made, now we are actually seeing those results.
Will we see another runaway success? Like, for example, Dubai Hills has become like the darling neighborhood of the city. On the other side of the spectrum, there's another darling neighborhood like Nashama, complete outsider, not necessarily close to anything, but has been getting rave reviews by people that are living there. How is there any other markets like that coming along, and how do you predict them, and where are you directing your clients' attention towards?
Look, there are a lot of communities, and I've said this earlier also, and I would say again, in Dubai, you are not just buying a property; you're buying a lifestyle. Each community appeals to a certain type of audience. If you want something which is very affordable, something which is a family community, Nashama is a great place. Great for kids, a lot of open spaces, parks, play areas. If you want something which is by the beach, you want the beach lifestyle or the marina lifestyle, you have options today like La Mer. You have the Emaar beachfront, Palm Jumeirah, JBR, Blue Waters. There are a lot of this thing. If you are into golf, you like playing golf, or you want to be in something like a golf community, you've got Jumeirah Golf Estates, Dubai Hills. So it's a lot of it's actually the lifestyle. And if you like the hustle bustle, like you like downtown, so the choice is on the lifestyle, depending
But in
on.
general, I have to just push you.
Yeah.
In general, is there another neighborhood that you think has a really good shot of being mainstream successful? So for an all-rounder, no, actually, let's exclude families for now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about young, professional, high disposable income, maybe cohabiting, no kids, or newly married, no kids. Where would that buzzy area be?
I think if you talk about in the affordable segment, Nashama is one community which is appealing to a lot of people. Overall, Dubai Hills again is really an amazing master plan by Imar, and it's still not matured fully. Things are still coming up over there, and the next couple of years, I think that community is going to have a great run, and so is District 1 as well because of its location. These are the communities which I would say, and of course, it's not like a very major master community, but even La Mer as a destination is going to be really nice.
So maybe a good place to end then is that there are a lot of opinions about what's going on in the market at the moment. And if you don't live in Dubai and you don't know the people that are actively participating in the industry, consultants like yourself, all you've got is news that you consume from overseas, social media, pundits. How would you advise someone to declutter and denoise all the stuff that they're hearing on social media? Like, from your opinion, and your opinion is an opinion like anybody else's, but how do you get your how would you ask somebody overseas to think about what's going on in the market, kind of once and for all?
Look, very simple to put it in simple words. If you ask me, the markets currently are going good. Will they continue? They could, and I believe they will. In between, there could be some slowdown or a few months where it's flat, but prices will go up further. Yes, they can, very much, depending on the segment of property. Overall, in the market, there's a lot of inquiry. One really important factor as we speak currently is which Most people are missing out. And what happens is these reports and stuff like that. I have my own opinion on it that, okay, yes, someone sitting in an air conditioned office writing a report, and someone who's out on the streets, in the field, on ground, talking to clients, buyers, and sellers every day, that's real information. So, from a consultant's perspective, when I see a lot of inquiries, biggest factor which people are not talking about as we speak, due to the COVID travel restrictions, India, there are far lesser flights currently between India and UAE as compared to before. Pakistan, the travel is not so easy. UK is completely banned. Saudi, again, it's not so easy currently to travel to and fro. These four countries are one of the biggest buyers of property in Dubai since Dubai started freehold. As of now, what we are seeing in the market, these four nations, the travel is still restricted. Now imagine what is going on in the market is with the restrictions on these four major buyers. Once that opens up, my personal opinion is it's going to be even busier. I'll give you a very small example. There used to be literally around from the UAE to Bombay around 22 flights a day previously, pre-COVID. Currently, I believe there are just like 5, 6 flights. Now, that's the kind of numbers we're talking about. Now, once that opens up, and even when travel is a little more eased out, which we are expecting going into summer, with all the vaccination going around in the world and stuff like that, we're hoping that it will ease up. That should really add fuel to the fire.
So what you're saying is that when the United Kingdom, India, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia come to the party, what we've already seen as exceptional growth could multiply, at least demand could multiply another 2, 3
Yes,
times.
it could.
That's a nice positive
Yeah.
place to end. Where should people contact you?
They can contact me on my social media channels, on any of my social media channels, on Instagram, on TikTok, LinkedIn. Send me a DM, drop me a WhatsApp, or email me on tahir@trustedhomesdubai.com. I'm always happy to help.